Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to this episode of Understanding Change Makers through Kabir Learning Foundation. But before we interview our change maker for the day, Mr. Ganesh Shanbhag, I would like to give you a quick brief about Kabir Learning Foundation and what is its objective. Kabir Learning Foundation is a management consulting company which works on understanding the soulfulness of change makers who bring transformation in the society, who go beyond the frameworks, go beyond the conventional box thinking to bring an impact which is useful to the society. And when we work with such change makers, some of them are full time change makers working for NGOs or who are started the NGOs, or musicians, filmmakers, photographers. But today we have a very inspiring personality who is a technologist, who's an IT professional, whose full-time job is something else, but then his passion for building change is something which could be very inspiring for most of us. And that's the whole purpose of this interview, to draw inspiration from the wonderful work done by Ganesh Shanbhag on H2O, if I may use that. Ganesh, I would love to know a bit from your side and your lens. Would be nice if you can introduce yourself. Of course, you have made a big change to the 300 plus apartments by saving lakhs and maybe crores of rupees and gallons of water through your innovative rainwater harvesting concepts. Although you are a full-time software employee, you have done a lot of work in during your weekends and maybe midnight possibly to think about it. So we would love to know how all this started, and how did you actually realize that water problem in maybe a city or apartment is not just the supply issue but a mindset issue. Over to you, Ganesh.
Yeah, thanks, Dinkar sir, for the nice introduction. Yeah, definitely everyone has to work on H2O because it's one of the Pancha Mahabhutas on which we all live, right? Like we cannot ignore. In fact, I want to invoke a stanza from Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, which was written somewhere close to 1911 to 1914 and is etched in our national anthem, right? Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchchala Jaladhi Taranga. Right? What does this mean? The harmony should exist between Vindhyas, Himachal, which is Himalayas, and Jaladhi Taranga, meaning the surrounding oceans around us. Only when there is a harmony, we all can live in very nice way. And who is our Bhagya Vidata? We always say, right? Nobody else is our Bhagya Vidata. We are our own Bhagya Vidata. And that's when the importance of Pancha Mahabhutas come into picture. It's not just about the national anthem. The other anthem, what we have, Vande Mataram. What does it say? Sujalam, Sufalam, Malaya Jashitalam. So all these were written hundreds of years back, right? Today we are feeling the relevance of it. So having said that, like, I think now it's much more clearer, right? I can even go much ancient times to Manusmriti to talk about the importance of water, which I'll do at the end of this session. But having said that, what made me think about the change, right? It was in the year 2018, just close by to my house. There is a lake called Begur Lake, and it's one of the largest lakes of South Bangalore and one of the historic lakes as well. And in fact, when you say the inscription found in that particular lake is what our city gets its name from, Bengaluru, right? The place of baked boiled beans, right? So this historic lake was drained in the name of development. I don't know what exactly development it is. So I don't consider building walking tracks around the lakes or making synthetic islands inside the lake as development. But just government made that as a development motto, and they kind of emptied the lake. And when the lake goes down, it's not just about that lake, it's an ecosystem. There are fishermen who live on it, they earn their livelihood from it, right? There are migratory birds which come all the way from Serbia and across, which for their roosting periods. In fact, like now we say they are all local Bengalurians because many are seen here, but it's all migratory birds which come to these lakes. It's a beautiful ecosystem. There is a lot of flora, fauna associated with it. Also, the surrounding groundwater table is associated with it. Bangalore as a city, because of its tremendous population, right, of 1.3 crore, 1.4 crore, whatever we want to call it, has over the years increased its dependence on groundwater. Rather, I would say over exploitation through borewells. And when we kill a lake, it's as good as you kill the surrounding borewells associated with that aquifer. The same thing happened with us. All that while we were enjoying the groundwaters, happily pulling it out without even caring for replenishing it. Because this is one unmetered, unmonitored space, right? Anyone can dig a borewell, extract, use, and all those things. So that's what we call it as a supply, right? When we say we have a borewell, we have abundant supply. That's not a case, right? And as a typical Bangalorean, as soon as the borewell dries up, the immediate next thought is move to tankers, right? Because that is what is my next supply, right? Nobody cares about from where they get the water from, right? What is that diesel which is burnt to fetch me the water from that particular place? So even I was not thinking on those lines, but for me, the immediate thing was, since I was there on the management committee, the immediate thing was like, how do I handle the increase in the maintenance charges because of switching over to the tankers? That was my main motto. Let me confess on this. Like back then, I was not thinking about ecology. I was only thinking about economy, right? So these two ecos should go hand in hand. So my main motto was to reduce the maintenance stuff. And then uh, uh, when I was in my school days, like I studied in a school called K Boards High School in Dharwad. I'm pretty sure you know about it. When there were SSLC rank systems, it was called Bank of Ranks, right? So I studied in that particular school, which is again close to 100 years old now. And somewhere when I was in seventh or eighth grade, one of the pioneer in the rainwater harvesting, which is Shri Padre sir, visited our school and gave us some gyan around how to how to harvest rains. And he used to write newspaper articles in Vijay Karnataka, which used to be known as Honey Honey Seri. And I had a very passionate, it was my passionate subject, and I used to keep the paper cuttings with me. So all that strike the bell, and like in order to save the economics of the apartment, I thought switching over to the rainwater is the best thing to do. And that's when like I started studying more as to what is the rainfall pattern, how does it rain in Bangalore. Uh, okay, if I build all these rainwater stuffs, rainwater harvesting stuffs, will I be able to run my apartment at least for 6 months in a calendar year, right? So at least my half of my maintenance which is otherwise arising from the tankers can be brought down. So that was my immediate thought process, and this was the starting point where I started to work on the rainwater harvesting system. Again, I want to confess, today I talk a lot about ecology. I never started with ecology, I started with economy.
That's very interesting. What kind of a resistance you saw when you tried to bring this shift from people around you, and how did you manage this resistance? This will be important for people who are in corporates also, because they keep talking about resistance when they're trying to drive the change in the organization. We would love to know your thoughts, Ganesh.
Yeah, definitely there was a quite a bit of resistance, I would say. Uh, because like whenever people think about rainwater, right, all they know is the water which flows on the road, the water which flows on the muddy terrain, which is red in color or brownish in color. Nobody considers rainwater to be pristine, pure, because all they have seen is the rainwater which is mixed with the debris and all the flooded outer ring road. That is the rainwater that comes to their mind. Never consider that to be a drinking grade water. That's one mentality. I mean, the human engineering challenge, I would call, right? Like there were huge amount of questions which came in saying that, look, if we do this and if we consume this water, what happens if there are any health risks associated with it? Do we have to do such an investment without even having a guaranteed good quality of water, right? So these are the kind of questions which we got in. But again, like to handle this, right, to handle any sort of a resistance. um, as you know, right, rainwater is not just the one thing which I have done. Like, we have expanded our thing into sustainable water management stuff today.
Absolutely.
For any of the projects what we have done, the simplest way of overcoming a resistance is something called proof of concept, right?
Hmm.
Build a miniature version before you build a full blown out version of it. So my apartment, the complete rooftop where we could harvest, or the catchment area what we call for the rain water, was close to about 37,000 square feet. But we did not start with entire 37,000. We started with somewhere close to 4,000 square feet of rooftop. Made sure the water whatever we harvest is drinkable grade. Took help from few NABL labs, national accredited biological laboratories, to validate that it's a drinking grade water. And even we did some blind tests by leaving the rainwater for drinking purposes and all those things. Like, again, this is another thing, right? If you tell and leave that water, everyone will get sick. If you just do a blind thing, just leave the water soak for 15 days and then make sure nothing happens. So that will give you confidence. See, one, you have a lab report, and second thing, you do this blind testing so that you get confidence in yourself, and then slowly expand it to the full blown system. This is not just true for rainwater, it's true for any other sustainable projects what we have done or I'm doing it for now.
What do you mean by blind proof?
Right. Blind testing is something like this, right? So, say for example, I have harvested close to 1 lakh liters of rainwater, but I'd never tell it to other residents that I will be letting that water for the drinking purpose, right?
Acha.
Just leave it to the drinking water line and await for the results, right? Like, this is one mentality thing what I have seen. Even if you give good quality of water and name it something else, right? Uh, it's people mentality, they will like mentally feel you. But instead of that, if you do the blind test and make sure nothing happens to the people around you, that means you have succeeded. So I believe in this because this gives you less resistance, and yeah, and results are much more accurate.
Okay, so I think that's what is conviction in the language of change management. Maybe
Yes.
conviction that our body is strong and the nature is also, uh, you know, going to help us to digest the rainwater, because end of the day, we are drinking water coming from tanker, and sometimes everything we get is Kaveri water. Even if, ultimately end of the day, everything is coming through one way or the other because of Kaveri, even with the water which comes from.
So there is a larger saying for this, right? Like, there's a friend of mine by name Tarun who runs this company called EcoSCP. So he has written it very beautifully, saying that it's not Kaveri water, it's not borewell water, or it's not rainwater. It's the same water what dinosaurs used to drink, right? There is no new water created on this planet. Over and over, it's recycled again and again. It's the same water what we are drinking today, right? Water is a finite resource. It's not infinite as we know, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
so it's other way of putting it out.
Absolutely. So I think how to use the finite resources is a challenge in organizations as well. You talk about resources, they're finite. And from these finite resources, you create infinite possibilities. Awesome. This gives a lot of idea in terms of how do we look at the larger context of this. So when it comes to, scaling this whole process, you were successful in doing in your apartment, and then you scaled to 300 plus apartments in Bengaluru. I'm sure working in your apartment has a different challenge. Working with other RWAs, resident welfare associations, has a different challenge. And I must tell our viewers that we also have been deeply benefited by Mr. Ganesh Shanbhag in our apartment, where we reached out and we had similar notions about rainwater. And I think very beautifully you guided us. And I must say we are also getting benefited. That's a separate subject, though. Uh, what I want to understand from you is how are you how are you trying to build this awareness when RWs reach out to you and ask about, is it safe to drink rainwater coming from terrace, or maybe if I ask you, is it safe to use the stormwater drain water also, and filter it properly and use it for portable purpose? What would be your answer? How do you bring such changes? So it's my question is both technical as well as logical in its sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to put it this way, right? Like RWA and government, right?
Ah,
They are no different.
okay.
Government is a large set of people who don't want to do things. RWA is a small set of people who govern a small set of things and who don't want to do things. So it's as simple as that. Like there is incompetency at the larger level, this incompetency at the smaller level, right? But RWA strive for benefits. You rightly said, right? Like you are also getting benefited out of it. So finally, you may think about ecological benefit. Like there are very few people who talk about carbon footprints, right?
Yeah.
But what is that benefit,
ROI.
right? It's the ROI. So as I told, right, like it's finally boils down to what is that ROI and what will be my maintenance saving. It's as simple as that. Okay, so there are other challenges what I face when I talk to RWS. It's not just this human engineering challenges, not just these perceptions like I can't drink the rainwater. There are a lot of RWS who come to me saying that in
Hmm.
order to save the cost, what builder would have done is he would not have put the separate rainwater line. It would have been mixed somewhere in the sewage line, and it's inseparable kind of a situation, right? And these people, right? Again, it's a mentality thing. I don't want to blame anybody. When somebody is taking a handover of an apartment, right? Whether it's an individual or it's a RWA, all that they care about is clubhouse, swimming pool, all these nice amenities, whatever builder has proposed. Nobody cares to check whether the plumbing is as per the Indian Building Code or the National NBC, as we call it, National Building Code, whether there is enough things done for harvesting the rainwater, proper sewage management, proper garbage management. Nobody cares about it. All we live in this glamorous lifestyle of clubhouses, right?
Hmm.
So these are the second set of RWS which come to me. But
Yeah.
for everyone, uh, if okay, there are two things, right? Perception. How do we convince people to make sure the water is a drinking grade water? I would say, like, don't go with my words. Go with any of the NABL accredited labs, what you trust, and get the IS 10500 report, which is an Indian standard for drinking water, or like BIS as we call it, and make sure the parameters are met. Only then you start consuming it. That's one thing. And second thing is, like, the standard ROI, what I have seen working across multiple apartments is these kind of projects, if you invest X amount of money, the X amount of money will come back in 3 years, right? So after
Hmm.
that, the system is yours and the life will be somewhere close to 25 years. So these are the kind of economics what if I tell people, they will realize about it. And nowadays people have started to think about the rainfall patterns as well because of this floodings and all other things. Now people know that Bangalore receives somewhere close to 1.9 meters of rainfall. Um, I think you know it, right? Like if you build a 2 meter invisible wall across Bangalore, we can hold water, which is just the rainwater, about 54 TMCs of water. To put on
Wow.
context, KRS full capacity is 49.2 TMC. That means it rains more than the KRS full storage level in Bangalore. But the problem is we are not holding it out. We are leaving it out. And because Bangalore is part of the Mysore plateau of the Deccan Plateau, right? It is at a good elevation, and the water, because of the natural slopes, flow through the natural channels into all these rivers, whatever we have, either it is Dakshina Pinakini, Arkavati, Ponnayar, or Vrishabhavati, wherever it is, it just flows through these natural things and eventually like reach other states. Like there even a part of it goes into Tamil Nadu as well as part of the Mettur catchment area. So Bangalore is at a much higher elevation when compared to all these places. So there is a natural gradient for water to flow in. In fact, if I want to tell a little bit on these gradients, right? There is high grounds in Bangalore, right? I'm
Hmm.
sure you know about it. There's a high grounds police station as well.
Absolutely. Very well known.
Yeah, well-known place. And there is Ramana Maharshi Park, which was
Yeah.
used by Sir George Everest for his 1853 Great Indian Trigonometric Survey, right? And
Yeah.
there is Vartur Lake as well. So the difference between high grounds and Vartur Lake is like you can fit a 30-story building there. That's the difference in elevation. And that's why you now see, right, like it won't rain in that, it won't flood in that part of Bangalore, but it rather floods somewhere close to Outer Ring Road, Vartur, Sarjapur, and all this kind of. It's because of the elevation difference. So again, if we just want to negate all this elevation difference, harvest whatever comes into your campus directly at your place. That's a much better thing to do. And these are the kind, there are very few people who talk about these things, but there are few RWAs who talk about this.
Yeah, yeah. So I think people look at benefits multiple ways. One is ecological benefits, economical benefits, overall futuristically how it will help the society. But the most common uh, denominator, whether it is corporations or government or RWAs, possibly it is very easy for people to get convinced by, hey, what is in it for us? What is the ROI? How many tankers we will save? And sometimes when we don't have convincing answers for that, you know, the whole project gets into a limbo. So I think from where I'm coming is, when the starting point of the change management is what's the benefit, not everybody will have the energy and enthusiasm to communicate the economics also,
Yes.
and going beyond the economics. So how did you how did you make people realize that while the bottom line is economics, agreed, the starting point is ecology? This is not an easy shift. So uh, what was your style to convince? We
Yeah.
are trying to understand Ganesh way of building social change.
Yeah. Last week, I was talking to one association close to, in fact, I visited there, close to Sarjapura Road. So for them, actually, the way of handling their questions was very simple. So they did not care about economy, they did not care about ecology, right? All they cared about was the hair fall. The complaint what they were telling is, okay, we are getting some 7 tankers per day and the TDS is somewhere close to 1200. See, the TDS meters, if you have seen, right, they come with 3 digits. But now that because of the increase in the depth of the borewell, the TDS has shifted to 4 digits. So people are buying new TDS meters from Amazon, right? So 4 digit TDS meter. So they were saying, like, as soon as we started shift, it's a new apartment, by the way, we shifted into this, like everyone is getting a hair fall because uh, the TDS is close to 1200, right? What is the solution for this? So the way I convinced them to go with rainwater harvesting is, they wanted to invest on a softener
Oh,
for an
wow.
entire apartment. I gave them the economics in such a way that the cost of rainwater harvesting was cheaper than the softener to be installed. And rainwater
Oh,
is naturally soft, with like
yes,
close to 40 or 50 TDS.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
as I told you, right, like the change, we have to understand what is exactly the problem statement they are, the solution they are looking for. So if they are looking for a solution for hair fall, I cannot go and give them gyan on ecology, right? I know
Absolutely.
baseline is ecology for me, but
Ah,
I cannot even go and tell them that, look, 7 tankers are coming to your place, and each tanker, if it burns 5 liters of diesel for getting you the thing, and 1 liter of diesel emits 1.67 kg of carbon, blah blah blah. This is the entire equation for the year. Now, and the people will say, get lost, right?
absolutely.
You have to tackle the point from where the problem is coming. Their problem was hair fall. I know the solution they were looking from me was a softener, but I convinced them with going with a rainwater system. Again, you know that person, but I just don't want to name her here. So I had posted some of the pictures of my daughter's birthday on my social media handle, and it had a few balloons lying there. And the
Ah,
question what came to me was, you talk so much about ecology, you should not use balloons. I agree, I should not have used balloons. We've gone with some eco-friendly decor, but that is what triggered some thoughts around me. And like, I gave a carbon footprint report for the place where that person stays, right? And they were taking somewhere close to 70 tankers per day, and on a year, the carbon emission just because of tankers was coming close to 6 tons, right?
oh,
And So it's simple. BBMP data says one tanker for one apartment, it is 4 liters of diesel. So you can do the math. There are apartments which talk about 100 tankers per day, right?
Mm.
And it is as good as burning 400 liters of diesel
Liters of
just
diesel.
water. And it is 365 days a year. There is no holidays, nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Just
Nothing.
keeps coming. And there are like, I mean, few people really understand these carbon things, and few people are sensitive to that. But majority of them are just sensitive to the money factor. That's it.
Very rightly said. I think for a leader, it's also important to prioritize what is causing the biggest damage, you know, and prioritize on something which is causing a massive loss to the nature, and then come to the next steps,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
just want to interrupt over here. Like you spoke about at the initial part, right? You spoke about Kaveri supply as well. Uh, in fact,
Yeah.
Kaveri is more harmful to the environment because it comes somewhere close to 116 kilometers away from the city and 1,000 feet below us. Because Tippagondanhalli Reservoir, Shiva Anikat, and Netkal Dam, right? They have massive pumps which just pump water into the city. And uh, to put on record, right? BWSSB is the largest energy consumer in this state. Close to 40% of the entire power generated in Karnataka is consumed only by BWSSB, right? So and that's where those huge deposits and all those like comes into picture. uh, and Kaveri is a finite basin, right? It cannot go beyond 180 crore liters per day.
Absolutely. So you know, coming back to the whole uh, way of designing, let's say, change, I think we should. What I'm able to understand, Ganesh, is that we should first do a proper research on what is causing problem,
Yes.
and what are priorities and what are non-priorities, and secondly, how to deal with people who trivialize the priority. I think the third part is how do we deal with people who trivialize or maybe make fun of the priority and dilute it, which can result to a whole lot of problems over a period of time. You know, whether you're trying to change the way the society works, or the ecosystem works, or company works, or NGO works, or an apartment works. I think, as you rightly said, it just reflects the human psychology, whether you're part of RWA or like a sophisticated corporate or NGO or whatever. So I think these are some of the things. What would be your kind of a suggestion to people who want to build change for their organization, for their society, for their RWA, which is also leadership, by the way. All whether wherever you are trying to take an initiative is leadership. So, what will be maybe two or three very sharp suggestions to the leaders to see that they don't give up on the
Yeah.
good things they have started?
Definitely right. Like persistence is very important in anywhere you want to build a change. Uh, Again, as we say it, right? If at first you don't succeed, call it version 1.0, right? So most of the cases, version 1.0 will not. I don't call it a failure, but it's a part of the learning curve, right?
Mm.
Uh, so that is being persistent is very important. And second thing is like in order to be a change maker. Uh, you can never cross the hurdles. As soon as you believe one hurdle is crossed, a second
Yeah,
one pops up, right?
awesome.
The second one is crossed, third, fourth, fifth keeps coming up. And at the time you have solved at your local level, you are pulled into something big, right? Just the case of me, right? I was just a common citizen doing something for my apartment, but some media articles, some tweets by the politicians pulled me into a larger cause. So you get involved with the larger hurdles. And the third thing is like definitely like the people around you, right? Never expect them to be fully supportive to you. There are people who always want to pull you down, right?
Ganesh, it's been lovely talking to you, and I think this is just the first episode with Ganesh. You know, and the next topic would be more on how leaders should focus on scalability once the initial bottlenecks are covered. Thank you so much, Ganesh. It has been wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I would love to have another one, like to have a continued flow so that all the viewers will have continuity from episode 1 to episode 2 and beyond. Thanks, Dinkar sir, for this opportunity. And like before we end, right, I would say Again, as I promised, right, I even want to go more ancient. I would like to quote one ancient Sanskrit verse over here. It says, Prithivyam Trini Ratnani, Jalam Annam Subhashitam, Modaihi Pashana Khandeshu Ratna Samnya Vidyate. It says very plain, simple thing, right? There are only three gems on this planet. One is Jalam, Annam, Subhashitam, water, food, and the good deeds we do. The rest, everything is just a stone. The people who believe stones as gems are nothing but foolish. So that's what it conveys. And this also signifies the importance of water given in our ancient Sanskrit manuscripts, whatever we have, right? Having said this, thanks for the opportunity again. I would love to continue on this.
Thank you for connecting to the timeless values of Bharat. Thanks a lot, Ganesh. Looking forward to the next conversation. Have
Yeah,
a good
thank
day.
you.